Hi everyone, this is Charmaine Akawenzi, Customer Support Manager for Blindside Networks, and today we're going to do a BigBlueButton HTML5 client overview. The main purpose of this presentation is to assist in the transition from the Flash client to the new HTML5. We'll really be focusing on differentiating how to find the features in the new user interface that you would normally find in the Flash client. So we'll cover a quick overview of the HTML5 client from the viewer, moderator, and presenter perspective. And then, of course, we'll cover some best practices and troubleshooting tips. With the new mobile client comes some additional best practices and troubleshooting tips for support staff. And, of course, some suggestions for the help desk. So as you know, we focus on 4 key class sizes and use cases from the one-to-many perspective, starting with flipped classrooms and virtual office hours, and then slowly adding more individuals for student collaboration and full ad hoc online classes. So we usually recommend less than 100 individuals or participants per class. Although this is not hard-coded, it is still very much a recommended numbered requirement. The first thing you'll notice with the new HTML5 client is your users will have a unified experience across platforms. So whether they're connecting from a mobile device or a desktop or laptop device, they'll be able to participate in two-way audio, chat, and view the presentation and screen sharing feeds that are shared. Depending on the device that the users enter the session with will also dictate how the user interface loads. So as you can see here, in the laptop or desktop configuration, the messaging panels and the chat panel are auto-expanded. Whereas because of the limited real estate on a mobile device, you see that they are auto-collapsed. So also depending on how you hold your device will dictate the different UI configurations available. So if you've never been in the HTML5 client, that's fine. When you enter the session, if your messaging pane and your chat list is not expanded, you can select the user list or chat toggle in the upper left-hand corner to expand the modules. You'll see the session title in the upper middle, as well as the Start, Stop, Record button accessible by the moderator. All participants will have a settings menu. If you were sharing video, it would appear in the bottom right-hand corner. As you add more webcams, you'll note that the presentation module will resize, and you'll have this webcam display on top of that particular presentation. Everyone has access to their media join icons. If you've joined with a mic, it will display as a microphone. You can also toggle your audio format from listen only to microphone by using the phone set icon. And then of course the webcam join as well. All the presentation slides are displayed in the presentation module here. And because I have presenter and moderator status, I have access to a presenter and moderator actions button. So as you know, in BigBlueButton, there are 2 major types of users, a viewer or student, and a moderator or instructor. And these particular roles are hard-coded through the learning management system. When you enter the BigBlueButton through the HTML5 client, you'll note that the moderator now has a square user tile, and viewers are indicated with a circle. The first moderator to enter a session is allocated the presenter status, and the audio indicators will appear next to the individual's icon. You'll note that all of the user capabilities are unchanged from the Flash client to the HTML5. They are still very much participatory in nature, where students can share audio, webcam, chat and raise their hands, respond to polls, write in the shared notes, and participate in breakout rooms. You'll also see that all of the moderator functions are the same, with the exception of one part of the manage everyone's audio. Currently, in the Flash client, a moderator is able to unmute an individual. Now in the HTML5 client, due to privacy concerns, we've removed this particular function. It was brought to our attention that in many cases an individual will place themselves on mute and perhaps leave their computer. And if they're unmuted without their knowledge, things like maybe babies crying in the background, dogs barking, or other more sensitive information might be captured without their knowing. And of course, there's the presenter role. So as you know, the presenter role is tied to the moderator status, however, can be passed from one moderator to another viewer in the session. It enables the user to upload presentations. You can now upload more than one presentation at a time through the uploader. You're still able to annotate and advance the presentation, engage the multi-user whiteboard, and new to the HTML5 client is the ability to upload and play a YouTube link. You're also able to start a poll and share your desktop, now completely free of Java. It is fully WebRTC enabled. So we'll get started with the viewer or student capabilities. These are also capabilities that all users in the BigBlueButton session will be able to partake in. The first is joining your audio. So when you join, you'll be able to choose either listen only or microphone. Listen only does not enable two-way audio. Microphone does enable two-way audio. When individuals join the mobile client, what they'll note is as the users appear in the users list, their little icon will show the media indicator. If they appear with what looks like a little bite out of the side of their icon, it indicates they have no audio. When they join an audio source, such as a microphone, that will actually populate to show that it's a microphone or that they're in as listen only. When they mute their microphone, that indicator will change to red with a slash through it to show that they are not transmitting audio. Everyone is still able to set a status. Previously, the status was set by accessing the little emoticon underneath the user's list. Now it's no longer there. Now a user can simply select their own name and from the list of options available, choose set a status and then select which status they would like. You can set a status to be away, you can raise your hand, or you can do others such as thumbs up and thumbs down. Additionally, individuals are able to private chat with one another. In the Flash client, the private chat was a module located within the public chat settings. Now, to private chat with an individual, you would simply select their name, and from the list of available options, choose chat. A private chat will open up underneath the public chat pane, and that is where you can privately chat with individuals. You can minimize the private chat or close it out completely. And just like in the Flash client, when a presenter engages a poll, you as a user are able to respond to the poll. In most cases, this will appear in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. However, depending on what type of device you are connecting with and the way you're holding it, it may appear to be in the center of the screen or somewhere else. In most cases, it's going to be in the right or just superimposed over top of the presentation screen. Additionally, you have access to shared notes. Previously in the Flash client, shared notes were engaged by the moderator through a layout dropdown. Now all users have access to the shared notes. It's important to note that when a person is using the shared notes, it does not open for all of the users attending the session. You would need to each individually open the shared notes panel. However, they still very much behave like before. Everyone has access to some formatting options. You're able to write collectively in the notepad. It's still very much anonymous. It will not show who's typing or who's typed what. It's really meant for keeping track of additional topics, perhaps a pro-con list, etc. You're able to export those notes. So when you select the export, you'll be provided with the option of downloading as an HTML, a plain text, Word doc, or PDF. There's currently no layout format option in the HTML5 client. Previously in the Flash client, it had several different layout options available. That was because the Flash client was created from several different modules. Now, the HTML5 client is a single module with a presentation area that it's really static. So let's say you're sharing webcams and you really want the webcams to be the focus of the presentation because you're not really sharing any static content. The users can select the swap out presentation icon located just above the presentation in the upper right-hand corner. When they select this, what will happen is the webcams will actually take over the space of this presentation and the presentation will be minimized and not viewable. When that happens, this particular icon will appear in the bottom right-hand corner, which would enable them to switch back to the presentation content when they need to or would like to. So this is really the setting to engage a webcam style meeting. And of course, individuals are able to respond and join to breakout rooms. Now we'll get right into the moderator capabilities. These are capabilities that come hard-coded with the instructor or moderator role in BigBlueButton. The first is the ability to start and stop a recording. When you've enabled a session to be recorded in Canvas, this is not an auto capture function. you still must engage the start and stop recording icon in the live session. When you start the recording, you'll be asked, "Are you sure you want to start this recording?" You'll select yes, and then the recording indicator will change to bright blue with the red icon in the center and an active count up minutes to indicate that the meeting is now being recorded. You're still able to record multiple segments, so you can start and stop your recording several times throughout your session, and BigBlueButton will parse together those segments into a final recording. The maximum 6-hour time limit for sessions that have set to be recorded still applies. This prevents users from keeping the meeting open and preventing the recording from going into the processing queue. Viewing the recording also has not changed, so you'll see the static format. In most cases, it is the presentation area, whether that is uploaded content, whiteboard marks, or desktop sharing, and then webcams if they're being shared, and then the chat. When no webcams are shared, the presentation takes up the remaining section of this content area, so there's no dead space that's being shared. Individuals who are on the premium tier hosting of BigBlueButton are able to download these particular recording playbacks by right-clicking anywhere in the playback and selecting Save As to their device. If you are on the free tier, this is not a function that you have access to. As a moderator, I'm able to manage all of the users, in particular their audio. Previously, this setting was found underneath the users list. Now, as a moderator, I see that right next to my users list title, and it's easily accessible. Within that menu, I'm able to clear all of the status icons. I'm able to mute all of the users. When this is engaged, it mutes everyone, including the presenter and all other moderators. You're also able to mute all of the users in the session except for the presenter. And when these two particular settings are enabled, they actually auto-mute anyone who joins anew to the session. However, it is important to note that anyone can still unmute themselves. So if you'd like, you can always lock out viewers. When you select the lock menu, what this does is enables you to lock out any one of the following components, much like in the Flash client, with the exception of a layout option, because there is no longer layout options available. Now, when you lock out individuals, it'll be clear which setting you've locked out. They'll appear as red for off and on and green for when the setting has been applied. Once you've addressed whichever setting you'd like, you can actually select the X, and that will apply the setting to all of the users or viewers in a session. It's important to note that these lock settings do not apply to other moderators. When you've applied a lock setting, the individuals in the users list will show that they have been locked, and you can actually unlock an individual person. So if you'd like, you can actually select that person's name, and from the menu, select Unlock Student. If you'd like, you can relock that individual by again selecting their name and choosing Lock Student. It will simply reapply any of the settings that you have previously applied to the entire meeting. As a moderator, I'm also able to pass the presenter status to anyone and take it back. So to give presenter status, you used to select to the left of an individual's name in the users list. Now you select the actual person's name and select from the options available, Make Presenter. If I would like to take that status back, I can select the Actions menu and choose Take Presenter Role. Alternatively, I can select my own emoticon, and from the list of available options will be Take or Make Presenter. And that way I can take and make myself the presenter. It is important to note that the first moderator to enter is defaulted the presenter status, much like in the Flash client. As a moderator, I'm also able to promote or demote individuals. If you're a premium tier customer on the Instructure premium tier, you have the ability to invite individuals to your session, and they would come in as a viewer. You can always promote that individual to a moderator to give them more control over the session. And vice versa. If you have a student who maybe is misassigned to be a moderator role and they enter the session, you can always demote them to a viewer. You're also able to remove users. However, this does not restrict their ability to re-enter a session that they have been invited to. Next up are breakout rooms. So to create a breakout room, I would select the user icon, the cog wheel. create breakout rooms, and then here I can configure whichever way I'd like my breakout rooms to be. So I can assign the number of rooms up to 8. I can set a duration time in minutes, and then I can either randomly assign the students, drag and drop them, or have them select the breakout room that they would like to join. And then I would select create. The users would then see a join breakout room invitation, and depending on how you've configured the meeting, they may see this drop down when enabled to choose their own session. If they're not enabled to choose their own breakout room session, they will simply be pushed into the room that they've been randomly assigned to, or drag and dropped to join. Just like in the Flash client, their audio will be disengaged from the main meeting, and then they'll be pushed into the breakout room. Well, they'll be asked to join the audio. In the breakout room, they'll see the active countdown for how many minutes is left. The slide from the main room is projected into the breakout room, and all students are entered as a moderator, with the first successful connection allocated the presenter status. We usually recommend allocating a breakout room captain to ensure the presenter status isn't fought over by all of the students. So this is really a visual of the desktop version for the breakout rooms. If you're using a mobile, you might see this particular setting in your browser bar. So here, this would be the browser address bar, and this would be the tab count. So when you join your breakout room, you're going to see the tab count increase, and you'll be pushed into the breakout room. If you need to get back to the main room, you want to select your tab counter and select from the list of available options the main meeting room to navigate back to that particular room. And you'll need to navigate back to that particular room in any event that you may lose the connection to the breakout room, or perhaps you've just exited out of those particular tabs. You can come back to the main meeting room, and underneath the messaging panel, you'll see a breakout room menu. You can open that menu and rejoin the room that you had originally been joined in. If you don't see this menu, you may not have been assigned to a breakout room. That's fine. Just ask the instructor to resend the breakout room invitations. As the moderator can send out those breakout room invitations, what happens is they're only sent out to individuals who are either late or who the system recognizes didn't make a successful connection to the breakout room. When you select invite, only those individuals will receive a join prompt. As a moderator, you'll also have a control panel that pops up underneath the messaging pane. Within that control panel, you have options to see the duration time available left, and then, of course, end all of the breakout rooms early if you've decided the students have maybe finished their discussion. You're also able to join the room, much like the students have. So if you select join room, what that does is it disengages the audio in the main room and pushes you into the breakout room, prompting you to join your chosen audio format. Whereas if you listen only or join audio only, what happens is you're only transmitting two-way audio into the session. Students will actually see a little speaker icon appear in their users list to let them know that you're in the session. You'll be able to hear them and speak to them, but you won't be able to interact with the user interface of that particular breakout room. As a moderator, I'm also able to launch breakout rooms, so I can join each one, exit out of the audio prompt when asked to join, and then I actually have both breakout rooms open and available for monitoring. I can go in, see activity, see if the students are chatting in the chat, look and see if there's whiteboard annotations happening, and determine whether or not the breakout rooms are still in use. When you close out your public chat, you'll see that this little indicator might appear to let you know if there's a new message. So the circle will appear around the user list toggle action button, and it'll highlight with a little red dot. When you expand that, it'll show your public chat panel. It could also be a private chat that's messaging you. It'll appear underneath the public chat. But any new messages will appear and it will show a count indicator of how many new messages have actually been sent. When you expand the public chat, you'll see the chat panel appear, which you can minimize, or you can open the settings and either save and copy them or clear them. Only moderators can clear the public chat. As a moderator, you're also able to clear all of the status icons through the user list cogwheel. You can choose clear all status icons, or if you only have 1 or 2 students, you can clear each individual student's icon by selecting their emoticon and then choosing clear status. Everybody has access to a settings menu, so you can actually make the whole presentation full screen. You can do additional settings, which we'll cover later on. Open the About page. Access help information, which will bring you right to our tutorial page. Hotkeys, or simply log out. If you're a moderator, you're also able to end the meeting on the logout, which actually kicks everybody out of the meeting and pushes the recording out for processing if you've started and stopped the recording in the session. So that summarizes all of the moderator controls and functions that you'll find in the user interface of the HTML5 client. So now we'll move right into the presenter controls. A reminder, the presenter status is tied to the moderator, but can be passed from the moderator to other users in a session. The first thing that a presenter can do is upload a presentation. So you would select the actions icon, upload presentation, and then you're presented with the presentation uploader. In the uploader, you can actually drag and drop your content, or you can select your file OS search. And when you do browse for files, what happens is you're able to actually select more than one file at a time to be uploaded. When you select more than one file at a time, make sure that you've chosen the current slide that will be displayed after they've converted. You can only display one presentation at a time, and you'll know which is the current because it'll show a green circle with a check mark into it to indicate that that has been the chosen presentation. You're also able to enable the presentation for download by selecting the icon next to the current slide icon, which appears as a little document with a downward arrow. When this is enabled, it'll change to green and it won't have a slash through it. That's when you'll know it's enabled for download. Once you've completed configuring your documents, you can press start. They'll be converted and then they'll generate images. And then once completed, the chosen current format will display into the presentation module. When you've enabled the document for download, viewers will see this little downward icon in the lower left-hand side of their presentation screen, and they can select it to download the current file being displayed. It's really important to note that moderators must display the content for download. Previously, in the Flash client, when you selected this, a viewer would get a list of downloadable options. Now, they're only given the option to download the currently displayed document. So if you have multiple documents that you've enabled for download, you'll have to be sure to display each one to the viewers in order for them to download the content. And now you're also able to upload a YouTube video. So this is the newest feature within the HTML5 client. You can select the actions or presenter actions icon, and then you want to select share YouTube video. You can then simply copy and paste the YouTube video into the uploader. It must be public or unlisted to share. You can share both the tiny URL or the direct browser link. And then select share video. There's a couple of important notes regarding the video upload. It will not be captured in the recording playback. Users who are viewing the recording will not see any playback in their viewer. What we recommend doing is pasting the same link that you've pasted into the viewer into the public chat so those viewing the recording playback can watch from home. It's also important to note if you have users who are on mobile devices that have autoplay disabled, they might have to engage the playback from their end. However, in most cases, the playback will engage right away. You can put yourself on mute. All of the audio is transmitted to the local user's end, and you don't have to set up any configuration for your speakers to transmit into a microphone. Once you're finished, you would just go back to the menu, select Stop Sharing Video, and then you would just select Stop Sharing the Video from the options available, and the previously displayed presentation will appear. Just like in the Flash client, you're able to start a poll. Now, when you engage the polling, a polling menu will open and remain open until you either minimize it or close it out completely. You're also still able to format slides for polling to engage the auto detection of polling questions. So if you format your question with the answer afterwards, whether it's true, false, A, B, C, D, yes or no, BigBlueButton will know you're doing a poll and it will provide you with a quick polling option. Participants view the polling options that have been pushed out. They can then select them. As they respond, you as the presenter are given the results coming in live. So these are the anonymized results, and these are the per user results. So it's important to note that the graph results do not appear to the user live. However, when you publish them to the screen, they will appear with the graph imaging. Next up is screen sharing. So it's really important to note that screen sharing is now no longer Java required. It is all WebRTC enabled. With that being the case, you do have to use a WebRTC enabled browser such as Chrome or Firefox. It is also important to note that mobile users are not able to share their mobile screen at this time. To use screen sharing, you must use a laptop, desktop, or Chromebook device. Once you're in the BigBlueButton session, you would simply select your screen sharing icon. And in Chrome, you're presented with a couple of options. You can share your entire screen or an application window. When you share your entire screen is displayed to all of the viewers, even if you navigate outside of the application that you intend to share. This option also takes up a little bit extra bandwidth compared to the application window. When you share an application window, only the application window you've selected will be shared, even if you navigate outside of the tab that you are sharing. Once you've chosen your configuration, you would just select Share, and the screen share will start and populate inside the presentation area. With Firefox, it's important to note that before you engage the screen sharing icon, you must open the application you'd like to share. Once you've opened the application, you can press screen sharing. This window will appear, and then you would choose the window you'd like to share from the drop-down options available. And then you would press Allow. When the screen sharing is displayed, it displays in a presentation area. It's no longer displayed in a separate dynamic window. What we were finding is that individuals were minimizing that particular window, and they were having a difficult time getting it to come back up because it was hiding behind all the other modules. So now it simply displays in the presentation area. It's not manipulatable, so you know the students are viewing the screen sharing that you're displaying. A couple of notes. This is simply a mirrored image. Don't worry, this is not what viewers see when another tab or application window is being shared. This is the image they see when you're in the BigBlueButton screen sharing the actual BigBlueButton tab. So what's happening is you're seeing the screen share, sharing the screen share, sharing the screen share. This actually happened in the Flash client, but you were presented with a little preview window that wasn't as apparent in, but it was still there. It was just not as visually apparent. And finally is the multi-user whiteboard. As a presenter, I'm able to engage the multi-user whiteboard. And what this does is it enables all of the participants in the session to draw on the whiteboard at the same time. Each user is affecting their own separate layer, and their own marks aren't able to affect other people. So I can't erase your marks once I engage this multi-user whiteboard, and vice versa. Only once I turn it off do I get the ownership rights back from the whiteboard, and then I'm able to clear one annotation at a time, or I can clear all of the annotations. It's also really important to note that the whiteboard application has changed in the sense that when you engage it, it's no longer engaged for the entirety of the presentation, only the slide that you've engaged it for. So if I turn it on this slide, it's not going to be on for this slide. But when I come back to this slide, it's still engaged. So that covers all of the main features and functions of the HTML5 client. Now we'll get into some quick user tips. So we do have some recommended browsers for the new HTML5 version. They include Chrome and Firefox for laptop and desktop users, mainly because these are fully WebRTC enabled browsers. Internet Explorer is no longer supported. Microsoft is going to be phasing it out, and Edge will be moving to a Chromium-based version soon. On mobile, we recommend Android use Chrome and iOS use Safari. For all users, we definitely recommend a minimum bandwidth of 0.5 megabytes a second upload, 1.0 megabyte a second download. For instructors who want to share their screen, we recommend an increased bandwidth. However, it's not required if you're able to maintain a connection and share your screen without any issues. However, the minimum is 1.0 megabyte a second upload and 1.0 megabyte a second download. So as previously noted, screen share is not available on mobile devices, only desktop, laptop, and Chromebooks. The recommended network settings for laptop and desktop are previously unchanged. We still recommend those minimum requirements, reducing your overall background usage, such as Netflix and YouTube, and making sure the wireless network that you're using is private versus public, or if it's public, at least that is not being throttled for two-way connections. On a mobile, so for Android or iOS, we definitely recommend a 4G or LTE mobile network, especially if the user is intending to share their two-way audio, view screen sharing streams, and receive incoming webcams. For slower or 3G networks or individuals who may be on bandwidth restrictive networks, we recommend turning the data savings options on. So you can access these through the settings menu, select settings, data savings, and the user will note that the webcams and screen sharing are automatically turned on. So this is the default. If they turn it to off, what it will do is will reduce the overall bandwidth required, and it restricts the incoming webcam and desktop sharing streams. So it is important to note that this is a per user setting. They each individually will have to apply it and save it. It does not affect all of the users. So if I, as the moderator, go in and turn these settings off, they do not affect other users in the session. For wireless, again, we still recommend a private network versus a public network. And if it's public, making sure that it's not being throttled. The screen sharing tips are still very much the same. So Firefox and Chrome browsers must be WebRTC enabled. We do recommend wired, however, it's not required. Again, using discretion, if you're able to connect and share your screen without any issues, you should be fine. The presentation upload tips have not changed. The maximum size limits are still the same, 30 megabytes or 150 pages per file. You can split the file and upload them as separate entities as if needed. And of course, the format for documents is still preferred PDF, however, it is not required. And some quick microphone tips. Being sure you're plugging in your headset before you launch the BigBlueButton. Ensuring that microphone is working at the system level. So this is really important. It's especially impactful on iPhones or Apple products. Some of them have several layers of sound settings. So you could have the incoming call sound settings, your outgoing audio sound settings, media sound settings, browser sound settings. Making sure that you have all of those settings enabled and allowed for permissions will really ensure that the audio is connecting. Ensuring you don't have your microphone muted at the cord level, and making sure that you're restarting your browser if it's left open for multiple days. If you're in a live session and there is some audio feedback, simply look for the individual with an open mic, select their icon, and mute the user. This will reduce background noise and echo. And some quick help desk tips. So if the instructor forgot to press record, don't worry, we have up to 14 days from the live session to recover that recording. We do need the date and approximate time of the session, the name of the monitor or instructor, and the session title. We have some great end user support resources. So these videos are available by selecting the help button in the settings menu. And we also have a help center available as well. We definitely recommend that for the first class, individuals start their session either 15 to 30 minutes ahead of time, just to account for any technical issues that may be encountered. And for any new instructors who have never used BigBlueButton in the past, we definitely recommend setting up a short support session to ensure their microphones and webcams work ahead of time. And finally, set expectations. We tell everyone not to worry if you get disconnected due to a network interruption. It will happen eventually, especially in the case of individuals who are connecting from a mobile device and who might be in transit. Depending on how many towers you have available, whether you're pinging from multiple towers to another, will definitely dictate how many times you may have a service interruption. If you do get dropped, definitely try refreshing the browser. If you're on desktop or laptop, switching between Firefox and Chrome if available. If you have the option of using a different network or network location, we definitely recommend that. And if you're on mobile, switching from wireless to data or vice versa. So if you're veering up on the end of your data network coverage, we would definitely say try switching to wireless, and vice versa. If the wireless that you're on is causing connectivity issues, definitely try your data network instead. So those are all of the features, tips, best practices, and support suggestions for the BigBlueButton HTML5 overview. For those watching, if you have any additional questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to support@blindsidenetworks.com.